For everyone, I'd like to remind you that the event will be started in 10 minutes, so please wait and stay on this Zoom meeting. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
everyone, I'd like to remind you that the event will be started in 5 minutes, so please wait and stay on the Zoom meeting. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom. Om Swastiastu. Namo Buddhaya. Greetings to all of us. First thing first, let's praise our thank to God Almighty. Because of His grace, we're able to gather today to discuss youth crime problem, how to solve. Before I proceed, I'd like to introduce myself first. I'm Putri Fitriani, and I'll be your MC for today's legal English discussion. But first and foremost, good afternoon to our honorable speaker for ALSA Law Unplugged Volume 3 Legal English Discussion, Mrs. Septy, Juwita, Agustin, Br.Tobing, S.I.P, and Mrs. Wiyanti, Eddyono, S.I.P, HR, Ph.D. And then, our moderator for today's discussion, Kanadia Imani Witadea, and all of our honorable participants of the legal English discussion of ALSA Law Unplugged Volume 3. We also would like to say thank you to Risandi Chumbatrika Partnership for sponsoring ALSA Law Unplugged Volume 3 for today. Ladies and gentlemen, our series of today's events include the first one is the opening, which is currently ongoing. The second one is Singing Indonesia Raya and ALSA Anthem. The third one is the opening remarks by the project officer. And then the opening remarks by the director of ALSA UGM. And opening remarks by the head of undergraduate study program of LL.M, Mr. Dr. Wahyuyun Santoso S.I.P. And the next one is discussion, which will be led by two of our most outstanding speakers for today, which is followed by question and answer or Q&A session, which it should be noted that participants who have joined via Zoom may ask questions through the chat box, and participants who have joined via YouTube may ask questions through the comment box. After Q&A first session, there will be jamming session by Elsa singer Nabila Rizkita. And last but not least, the giving of placards to speakers and moderator. All right, ladies and gentlemen, moving to our next session, which is Sing Indonesia Raya and ALSA Anthem. Alright, let's get into the next agenda, which is the opening remarks of our Law Unplugged Volume 3 Project Officer to Irfan Daniel Putra. The time is yours.
Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Alhamdulillah, praise and gratitude for the presence of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. It's because of His grace and mercy that we can attend this legal event discussion, Law Unplugged Volume 3 this afternoon. The Honorable Head of Undergraduate Study Program of Law UGM, Mr. Dr. Wahyu Yun Santoso, S.I.P, the Honorable Speakers, Mr. Wiyanti Eddyono, S.I.P, HR Ph.D, and Mr. Septy Juwita Agustin, Br.Tobing, S.I.P, Kak Prasetyo Pramudiono as the Director of ALSA UGM, and also the rest of the local board and board of director and friends of the committee and participant of the legal English discussion Law Unplugged Volume 3. ALSA Law Unplugged Volume 3 is one of the annual works program of ALSA UGM, which aim to present an innovation in the delivery of legal issues to the public. This year, ALSA Law Unplugged Volume 3 will bring up the topic of When the Youth Unites the Nation. Within the topic, there will be a discussion regarding the influence of youth to face the future of the nation and to take part in maintaining the unity of the country. Through this theme, we want to encourage the spirit of youth to keep innovating by continuing to explore the potential that exists within them and become a great person with tremendous social awareness. Legal English discussion, as one of series of events of ALSA Law Unplugged Volume 3, will be one of our efforts to actualize the goal of our theme. This event carries the theme, Youth Crime Problem, How to Solve, to implement the two pillars of ALSA, which are academically committed and internationally minded. In correlation with this theme, the scope of the discussion will be related to matters such as a connection between youth crime problem and social disintegration in society, injustice in law enforcement against children and effort to deal with it, as well as effort to improve the moral quality of the community. Finally, on behalf of the entire ALSA Unplugged Volume 3 committee, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the both of speakers, the ALSA UGM Board of Directors, local board, and all third parties for their help to make this event successful. I also thank all the guests and participants who also took part in leading this event. Hopefully, this event can provide benefit to all of us. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om, Santi, 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 Om.
Thank you for the opening remarks, Irfan. The next one is the opening remarks by the Director of ALSA UGM, Kak Prasetyo Pramudiono. The time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Good afternoon, everyone. To Honorable Bapak Wahyu Yun Santoso as the representative of Fakultas Hukum Universitas Gadjah Mada, to Honorable Ibu Septy Juwita Agustin, Br.Tobing, S.I.P, MA as the DIrektorat Jenderal Pemasyarakatan, and Ibu Sri Wiyanto Eddyono, LL.M, Ph.D as the lecturer of the Faculty of Law, Universitas Gadjah Mada, and to Honorable Moderator, Nadia Imani Witadea. Today marks the last day of the agenda for Law Unplugged, in which we will have a legal English discussion on the topic Youth Crime Problem, How to Solve. We will discuss the phenomena of the youth crime problem that is happening in younger generations with speakers from academia and the Ministry of Law and Human Rights. Although ALSA Law Unplugged is held virtually, we hope that the participants will continue to have good impression and experience. Lastly, I would like to say thank you to all the parties that have been involved in supporting this event. That's all from me. Thank you and enjoy the event. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. To inspire and to aspire, ALSA always be one. I give it back to Master of Ceremony.
Thank you for the opening remarks, Kadion. The next one is the opening remarks by the head of undergraduate study program of Law UGM to Mr. Dr. Wahyu Yun Santoso. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Puput. So, everyone, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, salam sejahtera, salam kebajikan, and the most important thing, salam sehat. I hope everyone in here is in healthy and also happy condition for today's discussion. So, I think I will welcome Ibu Septy from Dirjen Pemasyarakatan, and also Ibu Yi as the beloved lecturer from a criminal department, and everyone who came from youth participant in this ALSA legal discussion and the last session, right? The last series of ALSA discussion, and I think welcome all of you to the discussion made by the ALSA of UGM, and I think I myself from the head of the study program always support and appreciate what has been done by ALSA, especially for supporting and then also initiating a lot of progressive activities, including this one, and I think this today's topic will be very interesting for all of you because it will talk about the youth crimes, and I think, and we already have two distinguished speakers from the government from one side, and then from academic from other side, Bu Yi and Ibu Septy. So I hope all of you will have very fruitful discussion, and will have something to be acknowledged and then to be held on, because I think youth crime could be very and also in a gray area, right? I mean, it could be something that came from our habits. I mean, could be from selfish habit. It also could become a youth crime in some time. So I think welcome and enjoy the discussion. I think that's all from me, and for ending this word from me, I think just have a nice discussion. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for the opening remarks to Mr. Wahyu Yun Santoso. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll now commence to the core of today's event. Before I begin, I'll introduce our moderator for today, Gadjah Imani Witadea. Gadjah is a student at the Faculty of Law in UGM who has many prestigious achievements, such as having reached awardee of the most outstanding student at Faculty of Law UGM 2019 and 2020, the best delegate of African Union Council, ALSA Best Model United Nations 2020, the first winner on National Law Debate Competition on Bernegara Law Fair 2020, and many more mesmerizing achievements. In addition, she has also participated in several committees that are no less prestigious, such as being the coordinator of alumni relations on ALSA UGM and co-founder and vice director on Hope House Local Chapter UGM. Therefore, without further ado, let's begin. Please welcome Gadjah Imani Witadea. The time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good day, everyone. I would like to extend my gratitude to the Law Unplugged committee for giving me a chance to become the moderator for today's legal English discussion. And also thank you, Putri, for introducing me to the participants here. I'm Gadjah Imani, the moderator of today's legal English discussion. I'm very pleased to see you here and welcome all of you to this session. Today's discussion is about the youth crime problem, how to solve. First and foremost, greetings to our honorable speakers of ALSA Law Unplugged Volume 3 Legal English Discussion, Mrs. Septy, Juwita, Agustin, Br.Tobing, S.I.P, and Mrs. Wiyanti, Eddyono, S.I.P, LL.M, Ph.D. Ladies and gentlemen, in today's discussion, we will talk about youth crime. Despite having a law on juvenile court in 1997, Indonesia doesn't have a child-sensitive juvenile justice system yet. Law enforcers often use a punitive approach for child offenders. The Convention on the Rights of the Child and Indonesia's own 2002 child protection law stipulate that detention should only be used as a last resort. But the reality is, imprisonment is often the first and only resource for children who have committed crimes in Indonesia. About 90% of the children sent to court are sentenced to prison, most for petty crimes. But the rates of youth crime still remain very high. So how can exactly we solve the youth crime problem? To find out more, our two amazing speakers today will provide you with that knowledge. The first speaker today is Ibu Septy Juwita Agustin Br.Tobing S.I.P. She is currently the Direktorat Jenderal of Lembaga Pemasyarakatan. Ibu Septy also has several achievements such as Penghargaan Menteri Hukum dan HAM Republik Indonesia kategori Karya Dika Prakarsa dan Director's Award for Scholarly Achievement Ruther School of Criminal Justice, New Jersey, USA. You can also read her publication in May 2018 with the title The Effectiveness of Diversion Implementation Indonesia under the Juvenile System Act, What Works, What Does Not. Hello, Ibu Septy. How are you doing today?
Mbak Nadia, I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, Ibu. It's very pleasant to have you here. So before the presentation begins, let me inform to all of the participants how the presentation will be going on. First, the speaker will be invited to present the material. After that, there will be a question and answer session and followed by conclusion. For addition, there will be a addition general Q&A session after the second speaker. Now, allow me to welcome the speaker, Ibu Septy, to deliver her presentation. Ibu Septy, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mbak Nadia. I want to make sure, can everyone hear my voice? Because I think the signal is bad here.
Hello, Ibu Septy.
Yeah, hello, Mbak Nadia. Can you hear my voice?
I can hear your voice clearly, Ibu.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm sorry because the signal is terrible here. I'm afraid that you cannot hear my voice. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so happy to be here, and I would like also to say thank you very much for ALSA UGM committee for inviting me to take part on this legal English discussion. It's an adorable opportunity for me. I'm very happy to see all of you here, the next leaders of the law enforcement in Indonesia. Okay, and also thank you, Mbak Nadia, for introducing me. As Mbak Nadia mentioned before, my name is Septy. I'm currently work at the Directorate General of Corrections. I work as the head of educational programs and state awareness for adult inmates. I have been working in DGC for about 12 years. And the last 10 years, I work as the policy drafter for the juvenile treatment programs in all the correctional facilities in Indonesia. Okay, the committee has asked me to share my insights about how to solve the youth problem in Indonesia. But to limit my materials and also to prevent the discussion not go too far, I will discuss this issue from the perspective of the correctional system in Indonesia. Okay, so yes, thank you for sharing screen my materials. So yeah, as Mbak Nadia mentioned before, we have considered that juvenile crime is more frequent and more serious than ever, and that our system of justice seems too slow to respond. Although we already have the Juvenile Justice System Act, there is still little agreement on the role of how the government should prevent and responding to this youth crime. So regardless of whether the crime rate is high or low now, young people, and especially the male, the boys, they commit a greater proportion of the crime than would be expected from the proportion in the population. For example, I just found that the number of the youth aged between 14 and below 18 are about 10% of the population and of Indonesian at the prison. So that's I think that's a high percentage. And if they were arrested at the same rate as everyone else, they will account for about 10% for their arrest. So this will be a good introduction before we go to further discussion. So we also saw that the decline in the juvenile population happened accompanied by a decline in the proportion of the juveniles sent to the correctional facilities as the Juvenile Justice System Act enacted in 2013. We can see that the number went lower, but the number was getting higher again in 2017. It was the peak number. If I'm not mistaken, it reached more than 2,700 juveniles in the correctional facility, and get steady here until the last 4 years. Okay, next, please. Yeah. Next. Yeah. So before we talk about how the correctional system can contribute to solve the youth crime, we have to know and to find out about the contributing factors of this youth crime. I believe there are a lot of studies, research, literatures that you can read that have discussed about these contributing factors that may be ranging from physiologies, psychological factors to the environmental factors. But in this presentation today, I would like to only emphasize on three main factors, which are the family influences, the impact of the school policies toward delinquency, and to the role of the relationships, that we will see how these factors contribute to the youth crime. For the family factor, I think this is one of the greatest factor that has that will give influence on how a child or a young person behavior. So these family factors related, for example, on how parents interact with their children, and in particular, how their disciplinary styles. So maybe a family with strict disciplinary styles can decrease the likelihood of their children's antisocial or delinquent behavior. And also about the parenting models and how the relationship can be built between the children and the parents in that family. It will contribute to how the youth will commit a crime or not. The second factor is related to school factors, and we can analyze these school factors from the internal and external aspects. From internal aspects, in this school factor, it is believed that this factor contributes to the youth crime related how the school treats their students fairly, how the school treat their students, whether the school treat them equal or not, or whether the school provide the courses that suit with the students' needs or interests, and how is the school climate, and also the discipline policies. So the school processes and the climates are related to level of achievement and delinquency. And school environment that characterized by, for example, academic competitive academic achievement, and also have formalized process for handling all disciplinary problems, and proper supervision is associated with higher rates of minor delinquency than a school environment that characterized by an emphasis on stimulating interest in learning, handling non-serious disciplinary problems informally, and strict supervision. And for the external factors, some studies have demonstrated that low measured intelligence, for example, like a low IQ, poor academic achievement, small vocabulary, and poor verbal reasoning are predictors of chronic delinquency. A low cognitive ability is believed can cause the delinquency or can encourage the youth to commit a crime. A causal link between low cognitive ability and delinquency might be mediated by academic success and bonding to the school environment. That's why maybe we can see a student with low cognitive ability, it will lead to academic failure and reduce bonding to the school that may lead him or her to skipping school or dropping out. And also because it will increase their time available for becoming involved in delinquent behavior. So there are many reasons from these factors to see why schools play an important role in the prevention, treatment, and control of youth crime. That's why I believe that it's not about only how law enforcement officers are responsible to prevent the youth crime, but also the school as the second family for the youth. They have the high responsibility also to prevent youth crime. Okay, and then the third factor is about peer influence. I believe that we have already known that youth is very influenced by how their peer conduct, and if they go together with the delinquent peers, they will tend to commit a crime or do the delinquent behavior. Okay, next. So after we see the contributing factors of the youth crime, now we can go to some theories that explain about why youth crime happens. So just like the contributing factors, there is also a lot of literatures and studies that will explain a lot of and various theories to explain why youth crime happen. But in this slide, I only want to focus in three theories. So the first one is the structural strain theories. So this theory believes that youth crime is an expression of frustration or strain resulting from limited opportunities to succeed through legitimate means, such as educational and employment opportunities. That's why the youth from low academic or unemployed will have a higher risk to get involved in the criminal behavior. So the second theory is about the social process. So in this theory, it explains how the social interactions between individuals and environmental influences may lead to delinquent behavior. Delinquency is seen as a learned behavior that is acquired by a youth when he or she interacts closely with other deviant youth. So it is related to the peer influence. That's why this theory suggests that positive environments, positive relationships with their parents, other adults, non-delinquent friends, and how they can involve in positive activities and values including education and employment goals, will help to prevent youth from committing a crime. So the last one is labeling theory. So this theory is very related to how the society create stigma or negative labels to the youth. And this theory also believes that delinquency is the result from societal reaction to youth deviant behavior. Okay, next, please. Yeah. So before we talk about how the correctional system can contribute to solve the youth crime, I will recall about the juvenile justice system here first, because the juvenile justice system is related very much with the correctional system. So according to the Juvenile Justice System Act, juvenile justice system is a whole process to deal with the crimes committed by children in conflict with the law from pre-adjudication to post-adjudication. So we can see that this enactment of Juvenile Justice System Act is shifting towards a more youth-friendly juvenile justice in Indonesia. So it uses various approach like restorative justice approach and also human rights approach that attempt to fulfill the best interest of the juvenile. So this perspective is stated in the Juvenile Justice System Act, including how we treat the juvenile humanly to meet their needs based on their age, separate them from adult offenders, and then providing effective legal assistance, and then providing effective treatment programs that based on their risk and assessment needs, and also imprisoning as the last resort for the juveniles. Okay, next, please. Yeah. So there are two main principles of Juvenile Justice System Act that are related to correctional system that I think these two main principles also can explain how the correctional system can contribute to prevent the youth crime. The first one is diversion. You know that the diversion has been implemented since the 2013, and based on my study on 2018, overall, generally, the diversion is perceived succeed based on 100 probation and parole officers' perception on my study. And this diversion program. Okay, next, please. Yeah, this diversion program is help to channeling out a youth offender from court proceedings and directing him or her towards community support, both formal and informal, by police, probation officers, prosecution, or other agencies. So how this diversion can help the youth or children in conflict with the law to not re-offending or commit a crime again in the future. This diversion can help to avoid negative stigmatization and social isolation. And also it helps the youth or the juvenile to easier reintegrate to the society. And of course, also the main issue that has been faced by correctional system in Indonesia until now, it can help reduce prison overcapacity. And this diversion also can help prevent worse delinquencies. So this diversion can help youth from committing crime again also because it involves not only the offender, the juvenile offenders in the process, but also the victim and also the society. So the society in this process will also learn about the crime and also learn how to prevent this crime to happen again at least for their family, or or at least in their environment or in their society. So indirectly, it can help the youth to commit a crime from this diversion process. Okay, next, please. Yeah. So in this slide, we can see also that diversion helped the youth from exposure into the justice system that may be more harmful than beneficial. And also, diversion will reduce the likelihood of future delinquent behavior, diminish the stigma and labeling, and also to strengthen families and communities that will help to create a positive environment for the youth. Okay, next. Yeah. So in the correctional system process for the juvenile itself, other than direct diversion, we also have to consider the juveniles that sent to the correctional facilities. As Mbak Nadia has said before, that almost 90% of the children in conflict with the law sent to prison eventually, maybe because of several factors. And because we know that this diversion program is very good, but it has also some obstacles to get effective in the implementation. So there are still a lot of obstacles to do this diversion program. That those obstacles are related not only from the corrections itself, but also from other various law enforcement institutions. Okay, next. So in Indonesia, currently we already have 33 correctional facilities. They are located in every province, not always in the capital city, but every province has this juvenile correctional facility. And it is also one of the mandates stipulated in the Juvenile Justice System Act, where we have to separate the adult and juvenile offenders in the correctional facilities. And we are glad that we already have these 33 correctional facilities in Indonesia, and also their buildings also has been separated from the adult correctional facilities building, and they also have their own program specifically for the juveniles treatment program. It is different from there's in some aspect it is different, but the concept is the same. We give the treatment programs related to character building and also vocational skills. And these treatment programs is mandated by the Correctional Act to make the social integration successfully for the inmates, because the aim of the correctional system in Indonesia, both for the adult and juvenile, is social integration. That means how we can restoring the unity of living, life, and livelihood of the inmates. Next, please. Yeah, so this is the juvenile correctional system process. We can see here that all of the law enforcement agencies are contributed in this process. Even like some specific crime like terrorists, we also coordinate with the BNPT or Densus 88. And we can see also in this process that probation and parole officers or their officers has I think the most important role, because they play the role since the pre-adjudication until the post-adjudication process. In the pre-adjudication process, the probation and parole officers will accompany the children in conflicted with the law in the diversion process or in the court process. When the juvenile sent to the correctional facilities, probation and parole officers also play a role in giving recommendation for the juvenile treatment program based on the juvenile's risk and needs assessment that will be stated on the litmas or penelitian kemasyarakatan, or I say social inquiry report. And then after the juvenile's release, the probation and parole officers will supervise them by doing or conducting home visit, or the juveniles can also come to the probation and parole office to make a report. But during this pandemic, the home visit and the report are conducted online. Okay, next. Yeah, so these are the legal basis for the juvenile correctional system in Indonesia. Other than this legal basis, we also have Ministry of Law and Human Rights regulations. We also have standards and guidelines that regulate how we treat and how the fulfillment of the juveniles' right in the correctional facilities. Okay, next, please. Yeah. So what constitutes a juvenile offender according to Juvenile Justice System Act? They are juveniles aged 12 and below 18 who committed a crime and are penalized under criminal law. And currently, data as per September 2021, in all of the juvenile correctional facilities, we have more than 1,800 juveniles. Okay, next, please. Yeah, this is data from 2012 to 2020. We can see the trend of the number of juvenile population in the correctional facilities. Next. Yeah, so this is the correctional process for juveniles. And from this process, you can see more details about the stages in the treatment programs for the juveniles. We have 3 stages. In initial stages, the juveniles, after they have undergone 1/3 of their sentence period, they will get the right for assimilation. And during this pandemic, they can do this assimilation program at their home, but I will have to make a note here under the supervision of probation and parole officers. In the advanced stage, where the juveniles have completed half of their sentence period, they will entitled to get the integration right, like parole or family visits leave or conditional leaves. And in the final stage, where the juvenile will be on parole, they will go back to the society and will be supervised by the probation and parole officers. And from all this process, if we can do the proper and the right treatment program, this treatment program during they are in the correctional facilities will help them to successfully reintegrate to the community and also to prevent them from reoffending. Okay, next. Yeah. So in providing the juvenile treatment programs, we also try to ensure the fulfillment of juvenile rights in the correctional facilities, like education, healthcare services, and also religious rights. And then we have also we provide them also with recreational, and then we also try to fulfill their identity rights. The correctional facilities have the cooperation with the local government to complete their legal documents, for example, their legal civil documents. And the treatment programs that are provided by the correctional facilities will include the education program, the character building program like legal awareness, nation and state awareness, religious program, and other educational programs. And we also provide vocational skills, so they can have skill, and after they are released, they can use this skill to get employed. And also we provide them with family visit, because we understand that family visit, family involvement, family relationship with the juvenile is very important in helping the juveniles to go through this treatment program very well, and also to help them to reintegrate into the society after they are released. And also we provide them recreation programs like sports and arts. Next please. Yes, so this is some pictures of the juvenile treatment programs we provide in the correctional facilities. And for education programs, especially in the correctional facility, in the juvenile correctional facilities, we also have the program called Sekolah Mandiri. So it is actually adopted from the Minister of Education program, Merdeka Belajar. So we try to adopt this policy and develop the Sekolah Mandiri program, where every juvenile correctional facilities in Indonesia will have specific vocational program in their education programs. So this vocational skill will be certified. So every juvenile will get skill certificate during the training, and this certificate they can use this certificate after they are released from the correctional facilities. And also for education program, we conducted in normal and non-formal mechanism. Normal mechanism, for the example of the best juvenile correctional facility that in providing educational program is in South Sumatra, because the local government also contributes a lot to give the education programs for the juveniles. So when the local government is aware about these juveniles in their region and want to help, like giving education program or healthcare services, it will help the correctional facility to provide a better treatment program for the juveniles. Okay, next. So this is some pictures of vocational skills and religious program that conducted daily. And also, like I said before, in providing these treatment programs, we try to assess the risk and needs of the juveniles. So the treatment program will be proper and individualized based on their needs and risk assessment. Okay, next. Yeah. So this is my last slide. And before I close my presentation, I would like to inform you that our probation and parole officers, they have written a book which is based on their actual stories, their actual experiences in dealing with the children in conflict with the law. And if you are interested to buy this book, you can reach directly to this mail, Radifan and Danisa. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, Waalaikumsalam, Ibu Septy. Wow, such a insightful, informative, interesting point of view, ya Ibu. So, before I start the question and answer session, I would like to highlight a few points. from what Ibu Septy has said before. Like the first one is there are many factors that contribute to youth crimes. There are family, peer influence, school internal and external factors, and also the juvenile system put diversion as the best way to restore justice for child offender, while imprisonment should be the last resort. And diversion avoid negative stigmatization, so it's easier for the child offender to reintegrate to the society. And the main goal of the correctional system in Indonesia is to socially integrate to restore the unity of living. And the last one is there are a lot of juvenile treatment program. A few of the most important is the educational program, vocational training, and also family visits, so that it will help them when they're about to blend into the society. So ladies and gentlemen, the question and answer session has started. Participants can text down your question in the chat box or simply text permission, and then I will let you open your microphone. But before that, I would like to ask Ibu Septy, Ibu, are you more comfortable to answer the question one by one, or can you have the first 3 questions from the participants and then you will answer those questions at once?
I think the first 3 questions is okay.
Okay, so Ibu Septy will answer the question one by one. Okay, so participants can now ask your question to Ibu Septy since the material from Ibu Septy is very interesting. But before that, maybe I will ask Ibu Septy a few questions first. Ibu, I would like to know how much is the capacity of LPKA? Is it considered as over capacity by now, or is it still enough capacity?
Okay, thank you, Mbak Nadia. So so it is different, yeah, the situation between the juvenile correctional facilities and the adult correctional facilities. As you can see, maybe in the adult correctional facilities, the overcrowding percentage reached by 92%. But it is different with the juvenile correctional facilities because we have separated the juvenile from the adult. So there is no overcapacity in the juvenile correctional facilities. Moreover, even in maybe like correctional facilities in Ambon, like that, they only have like 3 or maybe 5 juveniles in the correctional facilities. But maybe in like Lampung, or maybe in Medan, they will like have more juveniles, like more than 100 or 150. So it's they have different numbers, but the capacity is not overcrowding.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu, for the answers. We have our first participants here. There is Helena. You may open your microphone and ask your question to Ibu Septy.
Thank you, Kanadia, for the opportunity. Good afternoon, Ibu Septy. So I would like to ask a question. Like if we know that if a child get prison because they are doing the juvenile delinquency, we know that they will get some stigmatized from the society. So I would like to ask what has been done by the Lapas in eliminating that stigmatization, remembering that that child already received their punishment proportionally, and they deserve to enhancing their bright future like the other child. Maybe that's my question, and thank you.
Yeah. Can I just answer it? Yes. Thank you, Mbak, for the question. So, first of all, I would like to explain that Direktorat Jenderal Pemasyarakatan is not only about lapas. So, excuse me if I can correct. Maybe Mbak Nadia just said it, Direktorat Jenderal Lapas, but Direktorat Jenderal of Correction is not about lapas. So we have also detaining center, Rutan, Rumah Tahanan Negara. We also have the probation and parole offices or BAPAS, Balai Pemasyarakatan, and we also have the Rukbatan, Rumah Penyimpanan Barang Sitaan Negara or confiscated goods, and barang sitaan dan barang rampasan negara. So in dealing with these juvenile issues, especially juvenile who sent to the correctional facilities, and when they release, they will get to the society, and sometimes they will get stigma from the society. So this is the role of the probation and parole officers who will supervise this juvenile in the community. So they will help to to prevent this labeling happen to this juvenile by providing the juvenile the access to education. So the juvenile that have undergone the education program in the juvenile correctional facilities, when they are released, they can go to other school, or they can still go to the correctional facilities to continue his or her education. So this is one of the strategies how we can diminish the stigma or negative label from the society. We want to show the society that this juvenile is already this juvenile is have completed their sentence, and now they are back to the society, and we have to we have to accept them as the community members. And also this the probation and parole officers also will communicate frequently with the parents, and by doing home visits to see the development of the juveniles. And also if the juvenile is has completed his education, when he wants to get employment, we also have Pokmas Lipas or kelompok masyarakat peduli pemasyarakatan in 90 probation and parole offices in Indonesia. So we have like 180 Pokmas Lipas that will help correctional institution in providing the treatment programs, and also in providing the programs for the release offenders, both for adult and juvenile. So we work with this community organization. So they will also help the juveniles to get the better acceptance in the society.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu Septy, for the answer. Okay. The next is we still got some 10 minutes to ask. So for the participants who would like to ask a question to Mrs. Septy, you may ask your question now, or you can simply raise your hand and I will let you open your microphone. For the participants, you can also type down your question in the chat box if you are not able to open your microphone. Okay, seeing none, maybe I will ask Ibu Septy first a few more questions. The thing that I want to ask is, from your experience, Ibu Septy, usually how's the children's mental condition after they found out that they are like divonis bersalah, like that, Ibu? Or from your experience, actually, what does the child feel? Or did they feel guilty, or do they feel like they don't know what are they doing at the moment, or something like that? Maybe you can answer that first, Ibu.
Thank you very much, Mbak Nadia, for your very good questions. It's a great question, and it's been a focus of our juvenile correctional system in Indonesia. So about the mental health, I haven't found any studies or articles that doing research about how mental health of the juvenile offenders or children in conflicted with the law in Indonesia. But if I can compare with the United States of America, some research and studies there have shown that 2/3 of the children in conflicted with the law in USA have mentally disorder. So this mental disorder comes from the traumatizing experience because they have to go through the criminal process, especially traditional criminal process, not the restorative justice one. They have to be separated from their parents, their family, or their closest one, or their peers, even, or maybe they have to leave their school. So this cause the traumatizing experiences, and it will cause the stressful feelings, like depression also, when they got involved in the criminal justice system. And also in the juvenile correctional facilities, we are sorry to say that we haven't had yet the services for these specific issues for the mental health, but we are working to develop these mental health services, because we know that it is very important, because we have to pay attention on this issue, as this issue is not solved. I believe it will cause any. It will cause other problems, like maybe they will do reoffending again, because some stress or traumatic experience that not be healed, not cured, and will get more aggressive behavior, or generate other crime behavior of the juveniles. And from my experience, from what you asked, some of them, for example, when I visited one of juvenile correctional facilities in South Kalimantan. I met two brothers. So they did murders, so unintentionally, from their confession, because they just they didn't have any intention to kill their friends. Actually, their friends. So from that experience, I see that they are also a victim. That's why juvenile offenders is not only offender, but they are also a victim of their parents, maybe, or their environment, or other conditions.
Thank you, Ibu, for the answer. It must be very threatening for them, ya, Bu, after they convicted crime. Okay, there is question from Anna first. Other than delinquency, are there other laws that have an effect on the treatment of the juveniles in court? Maybe Bu Septy can answer this question.
So, Mbak Kunti, so she asked, is there any other laws that have an effect on the treatment of juveniles in court? Maybe beside the Juvenile Justice System Act. Is that right? What she means?
Maybe Anna can open the microphone. Hello, Anna.
Okay, I will try to answer this question. Okay. Besides the Juvenile Justice System Act, the other regulation is the Correctional Act, and also other than those legal framework, we also have some governmental regulations, and also the Minister of Law and Human Rights regulation that have an effect on the treatment of juveniles in court. And also we have tried to implement also the Beijing rules and also the Nelson Mandela rules to fulfill the rights of the juveniles during they are in the juvenile correctional facilities.
Okay, thank you, Ibu. Maybe we have our last question here. It's from Erly. Some of the crimes committed may leave trauma to those who committed. How is the juvenile justice system dealing with those psychological matters? Maybe it has something to do with my previous question, ya, Ibu?
Yes. I think it's similar with your previous question. But I can add, besides my answers, my previous answers, I can add some information. In the juvenile correctional facilities, maybe not in all, because we still have an issue in the human resources related to counselor, how they can give counseling to the juvenile in the juvenile correctional facilities. So in dealing with this health mental issue, some of juvenile correctional facilities have cooperated and collaborated with other local government, other related local government, like from the health office or maybe from the social welfare office, to provide the counselor for these juveniles.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu Septy, for the answers. Is there any question from the participants that you would like to ask to Ibu Septy? Okay, seeing none, well then, Ibu Septy, very great answer. You give me a lot of insightful perspective. I'm sure the audience feel that too. Unfortunately, this Q&A session has ended, but worry not. If you guys still have plenty of questions for Ibu Septy, you can ask her in the general session after the second speaker. Ibu Septy, I hope you won't leave the room yet, because we still have a general question and answer session after the second speaker. I thank you very much for the outstanding material, and I gain a lot of new perspective here. So moving on to the next session, we will have a break for around 5 minutes. We will provide you guys with some beautiful entertainment from our performers. I give the time back to Putri as the master of ceremony.
All right. Thank you so much, Kanadia, for the fascinating and interesting discussion for today. But ladies and gentlemen, before we continue the discussion, let's get into a jamming session by ALSA singer. Please welcome Nabila Rizkita.
Hai, nama aku Nabila. Aku dari Divisi Funding Angkatan 2020, and I'll be singing my Kaira song called Easy. Enjoy.
Oh, you heard what they say. Oh, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Ain't that a shame? I've been good for some time. I'll be lying if I say that you ain't on my mind. Been trying to give it some time. Feeling like I'm running away. Never had a chance to say. I can say that loving you is easy. I don't need to prove a single thing. Somewhere along the way, I guess you got under my skin. I put all my cards out on the table. You ain't never gonna show your hand. I would rather hold you close than try to understand.
What a beautiful voice, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to our also singer, Nabila Rizkita, for the mesmerizing performance. Let's get right back in sharing session with Kanadia. To Kanadia, the time is yours.
Okay, hello everyone. It's me again. Welcome back to the Lingo English discussion. How was the entertainment? Fun, isn't it? I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do and will remain to stay focused and fresh in the next second session. At this pleasant moment, I'm very excited to welcome our second speaker. She is Ibu Sri Wiyanti Eddyono, S.I.P, LL.M, Ph.D, also known as Ibu I. To know more about our speakers today, she is the Assistant Professor of Department of Criminal Law Faculty of Law UGM, the Director of Law, Gender and Society Research Center Faculty of Law UGM, and this year she led a research in a project named Law and Policies on Harassment and Violence in the World of the Work Indonesia for ILO Indonesia. She is also a trainer in a project handling and preventing gender-based violence for refugees in Indonesia. You can also read her several publications, which is in 2020, BUI and UGM team published Trafficking in Person in the Border Areas of Kalimantan, Indonesia for IM Jakarta, and in 2019, BUI published Women's Empowerment Indonesia, Oxford College. Hello, BUI. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you, Nadia.
Glad to hear that, BUI. We are very pleased to have you here with us today. Without further ado, to BUI, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nadia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan, and God bless us. And of course, I hope everybody is in the health condition. So, thank you very much for inviting again, ALSA. I think I become quite, regular speakers in ALSA. So I hope that, we can have a very good discussions today. And then I want to give appreciation for Ibu Septy, who share her experiences with regard to the topic that we discussed today. So I might say that my presentation is in some part will be overlapping with Ibu Septy, but I think it's fine because it will be a it's more likely complementary one to another. But I hope that the organizer can give me permissions to share my session, my PPT, so I can use my PPT as well. Thank you.
Okay, maybe for the logistic committee, you may let BUI to share her screen.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So, sorry. So yes, I think today's discussion is very important. I hope that you can see. Am I audible and visible? Yeah, I think that's cool. That's you can see it. So there are three issues that I want to bring for today's discussion. The first one with regard to the that we know that the criminal case rate done by youth or the juvenile crimes is kind of clearly it is increased, but how increased it is. There is a certain kind of condition that I might say it is a lack of data that we need to discuss about it, because the data is spread in many institutions. There is no single complete data with regard to the crimes done by juveniles. So that's one thing that I want to share today. And the second one with regard to the implementation of restorative justice mechanism, or what we call that diversion. And the third one is about the issue of rehabilitation for the child juvenile. So I guess we know that with regard to the data, we have national data on crimes published by data statistical institution that it based on reported crimes to the police. But if you look at the data, it's quite interesting because I think only these 5 years, yeah, Bu Septy, we do have this data, but it is very interesting. It's very general, even though it is good things to have the data, the comprehensive data about the crimes that reported to the police. Yeah, and then we now find out even the data can provide which crime are quite severe and which area are having a serious problem because the increase of the crimes in that particular area. But there is not enough information about who conduct the crimes. There is no characteristics about the crimes based on the age. But there is a data with regard to the victim. Yeah, so that's interesting. So that's one fact that we have to find out. So it is quite unclear enough how do we tackle the issue of the child crimes if we don't have enough data to analyze and to provide the kind of policy to prevent it. Because in my opinion, when we do have a draft program, draft policy, we have to be based on what is the current problem, what is exactly the situation, what is the conditions today. So that's become a very valid argumentation in order to establish a policy and program to prevent the crimes. But unfortunately, we don't have that. Yeah. So even though we know the global data again about the global data with regard to the children who's actually being in imprisonment is quite high. Yeah, but I think the data in Indonesia we know it. Yeah, but it's already when they are or when they are go through the court and then when they are become the, punished, have been punished, but not from the start. So that's the issues that we found. So that, but we can find from the national data, there are a lot of crimes against life, crimes against body, crimes related to sexual violence, crimes against people freedom, and then even though the related to narcotic, and then public order. But of course, the data doesn't provide a more sophisticated crimes like economic crimes. It is very conventional crime. That's another issues that established in our national data. So these kind of crimes, we believe, and there are certain kind of evidence that show actually the crimes that involve children. Children here is under 18. Yeah. So we can see it is a very severe, very serious crimes. And it is actually several of them actually involve children as the person who contribute or conduct the crimes. So, but again, with not enough evidence or the data, we can only talk about the general prevention. We don't discuss a specific cases because I think it is quite important to analyze why the child conduct sexual violence
Okay, hello everyone. I'm sorry for that.
Hello.
Hello, we.
Okay, so I hope that maybe the organizer can share my PPT because my computer is cracked down. I don't know what happened. So now I use my mobile phone. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm so sorry for the technical problem.
it's okay. For the committees, can you do a share screen for Bu Iis PPT?
Thank you. So maybe I continue while the organizer can present. Yeah, we can.
For that, Ibu, can you send us the file because the committees doesn't have that.
I already sent it to my PIC.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. So I can send you again if you want. So just contact me directly.
Okay, you can continue the presentation, Ibu.
Okay, yeah, all right. So I can continue, yeah?
Yes, Ibu.
So I think that's the first issue I want to share because in my opinion, the specific data is important to analyze the factors that trigger child conduct a crimes. How do they involve with terrorism? How they involve with narcotic? How do they involve with murder and then bullying? Or how do they actually involve with certain kind of, sexual violence? So this kind of specific factors might lead us try to understand what happens to them, and then because of it, we can prevent that particular crimes that happens to them. So that's one thing I think is important. And then the second issue is actually related to the criminal justice system that established in our criminal law. Yeah, I think we do acknowledge that Indonesian criminal justice system is pretty much developed now with regard to the child cases. So we do have the law on the protection of the children, which include the crimes against the child, but also the protection of those who are in the certain situation. What is the certain situation? Those who are involved in the crimes, or those who are involved in what we call that the specific conflict, for example. So this kind of law, we already revised it into 3 times, and then we do have the revised law, the criminal juvenile code, the juvenile code, which actually very pretty much focusing on the right of the child whose face involved in the conflict with the law. So I think the law is very clear, which it discuss a lot about the restorative justice, which it has a very strong position where the imprisonment or punishment supposed to be the last resort. So because of it, it provides what we say as the mechanism of restorative justice. So, but there is a certain kind of categories for the case that can be brought into the restorative justice. So, for example, the Article 7 and the Article 10, it's pretty much say that one, the crimes, the restorative justice can be encouraged if the crimes done by the juvenile is the crimes that not be punished under 7 years. So it's not for the serious crime. So that's a very important kind of categories. And then it is not the repeated crime. And the Article 10 say that it's supposed to be the diversions can only be done under the certain circumstances, that is that the victims has to be agree for the process. And then there is a possibility not to have agreement for the child, for the victim, if the case are related to, petty crimes, with the crimes without the victims, that can be goes into the diversion. So, and then the diversion is a very important process, which it has to be encouraged for the first step in the investigation process. And then if it is not success, so it can go through to the prosecutor. Prosecutor also can encourage to have the diversion. And if it is not success, it goes to the court, and then the court can also encourage to diversion. So it means that diversion is a very important process in our criminal justice system. However, if we look at to the studies, especially done by our students as well in our faculty, and there are a lot of studies already established. So there are problems in the implementations of the diversion, as Ibu Septy has already mentioned. The first actually cases are actually very serious cases. We found that youth done sexual violence, that usually the crime is more than 7 years old, 9 years old, 12 years old. So it is impossible for them to face the restorative justice, or the narcotic, or the murder. So this kind of cases is very difficult. It is impossible, not impossible, but it is not under the scope of restorative justice. So if it is not under the scope of restorative justice, so what happens? It has to be brought into the court. And then that's the other third issues that I want to say. Yeah. So when it goes to the under the court, it means that it has to be a court process. So there are problems as well, because if you look at to the law, juvenile court, those who are handled the case of the juvenile has a very has a more than adult crime, adult court. For example, there has to be a social worker that accompany them. The parent has to accompany them. There has to be legal aid. Yeah, so that's kind of very strong process to protect the children's right. But we found, in many cases, this kind of right are not really implemented. We also found there are a child who brought into the court without any guardian. We still face that situation. So that's the lack of the implementation of the juvenile court criminal justice. That's the other issues. And the other issue is when they are already punished, they goes to the rehabilitations. I think Ibu Septy has already mentioned there are hundreds of the rehabilitations for the child and for the juvenile. But if I'm not mistaken, Ibu Septy, we found that each of the rehabilitation center are not has not similar condition. The standard might be implemented in Jogja, but not really implemented outside Jogja, for example. And then we found from studies done by our college that sometimes in the rehabilitation center, even the education's right, that the right of the education that they have got, are not really done very well, for example. So that's kind of a problem also in the rehabilitation center. And then the other issue is there is no specific rehabilitation for the specific case. Ibu Septy has already mentioned about the mechanism for handling the child who involved in terrorism. But it's not really with other cases, for example, like the child who involved in sexual violence. So the child who involved in, bullying or other kind of crime. So there is no specific rehabilitation, which I think it is very important also to establish. so that after the juvenile, finish their program in rehabilitation, they will, have a good situations to be, join with the society, and then we are not longer worry about they will repeat their action in the future. So there are some issues that I want to highlight. I think I'm open to discuss, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ibu Iyi, for your presentation. Thank you very much for giving us such an interesting knowledge, especially on the legal aspect. I'm sure the audience is as mesmerized as I am. And I would like to highlight a few points here from what Bu Iyi has said before, that we are still struggling to collect the data about youth crime. So it is harder to regulate and tackle this problem because we cannot rely on any research or data since it is spread everywhere. And the second one, it is important to know why did they do the crime in the first place, because it will not solve the problem if we only solve the problem in the downstream. And the last one is the law is pretty much clear about the restorative justice, but we are still lacking of the implementation. So the next is a question and answer session. Moving on to the next session, you can text down your question in the chat box or simply text permission or raise your hand, and then I will let you open your microphone. For those who want to ask to Bu Iyi, now is your time to ask. Okay, because there are not yet any question, maybe I will ask to Bu Iyi first. Bu Iyi, like you have said before, that the child offenders with petty crime should have go to diversion instead of imprisonment, but a lot of children are directly the trial in the court. I want to ask, like, why is that so? Is it because of the law enforcers or because of the lack of facility, or is there another factors?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, I think first it's because of the scope of the what we call it diversi itself, or restorative justice. Because as I mentioned before, not all cases can be brought into the restorative justice process. It's only for the crimes under the punishment under 7 years old, 7 years punishment. So many cases are actually serious crime that regulated, the punishment is regulated more than 7 years. So it is already as the limit, yeah, to do restorative justice for the child. So that's the first issue. The second issue is with regard to the agreement of the victims, because of the restorative justice need to be based on the agreement between parties, that is the victims and the child itself, and then the family. So usually there are cases where the victim doesn't want to have agreement. So that agreement to do restorative justice for the child, so that's become also the obstacle to encourage to conduct the restorative justice. Yeah. So and then the third was sometimes it's more likely the lack of understanding of the legal officer. So sometimes they think there are cases and they think that this is not important to be restorative justice, and then they just go directly to the criminal process. But I think the first and the second factors become the dominant factors that limit the implementations of restorative justice.
Okay, thank you so much, Bu Iyi, for your answers. The next one is the question from Cecilia. The question is, if a parent finds out that their child has conducted a juvenile delinquency and they are trying to hide that fact and decided to not report it to the police, according to our criminal justice system, are there any punishment that can be given in regards of this matter? Thank you, Bu Iyi. Maybe the punishment is to their parents, yeah, Bu Iyi. Thank you.
All right. So you talk about the criminal liabilities, parent criminal liabilities. Yeah, I think this is a very interesting concept. I just find out our lecture, one of our lecture just finished her doctor degree with regard to this issue. So she actually discussed about the possibility of the parents' liability with regard to the child crimes. Yeah. So, but we don't have that much. That we don't have much regulation. But one with regard to the criminalize the parents when they actually knows that the child involved in narcotic. So that's actually under the narcotic law, anti-narcotic law. So the drugs that would be a certain kind of punishment that can be given to the parents if the parents notice that the child involved in drug trafficking, and then they didn't report it to the police, and then finally the police understand, and then so that can be crimes done by the parents. Yeah. Only for the narcotic that I found.
Okay, thank you so much, Bu. So it also depends on the crime, ya, Bu, ya?
Yeah, but for the conventional crimes, because there is articles, in buku 1 with regard to the principle where the families are just like have immunity in order to become a witness for the crimes done by their family members. Yeah, so there is a certain kind of law like that. But it is not happens to the narcotic. Yeah, and it is not now. It is also not happens to the terrorism. Yeah, but there is only specific regulation with regard to the parents and the child in narcotics law. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Bu, for the answer. For Cecilia, is there any follow-up questions, or are you enough satisfied with the answer? Okay, seeing none follow-up from Cecilia, moving on. Okay, thank you, Bu. Okay, for any of you guys who want to ask to Bu about her presentation before, or regarding to this current topic that we are discussing right now, you may ask your question in the text box.
I think there is no more question, Mbak Sadia.
Okay, seeing no question on the floor, maybe I can move to the next question, which is the general question and answer session. So in this question, the participants can ask both to the speakers, both to Bu Iyi and also to Ibu Septy. And in this session, I would like to invite Ibu Septy to join us again here. Hello, Ibu.
I'm here, Mbak Nadia.
Okay, nice to have you back into the session, ya, Ibu. Okay, so in this general session, the participants can ask in the chat box to both of the speaker. But this session will be divided into 2 termines, and each termine will only allow 2 participants to ask their question. So if you guys have any question, you can ask it on the chat box now, or just simply raise your hand or type permission, and then I will let you open your microphone. Okay, because there is still no question, maybe I want to ask both Ibu I and Ibu Septy. Okay, so I want to ask Ibu E and Ibu Septy regarding to this topic. What do you think is the main problem that like hold us back from really taking care of the root causes? Is there any real obstacle that we should be focusing on more instead of what the people has been doing right now? Maybe Ibu Septy can answer this first.
Yes, thank you, Mbak Nadia. Regarding these questions, I agree with Bu Sri that data is very important to analyze what is the root causes of the youth crime. For example, currently we only have maybe in correctional institution, we only have like data related to the juveniles in prisons. But I think if we can do or conduct the deeper analysis in this group of juveniles, we can do research with these juveniles to analyze what is the root causes of the youth crime. We can make some surveys, for example, or questions that can identify the causes or the factors that contribute to this youth crime, Nadia.
Thank you so much, Ibu Septy. Maybe we can add a little more answer to Ibu Septy's answers. Ibu E, I'm sorry, you are not audible. It's still
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, is it audible? Yes. Okay. Thank you. There are three aspects that I think is important to be discussed further. The first one, I think, prevention is the best. Yeah. We need to prevent crimes done by juvenile. So that's important. Yes, for these preventions, we need to have more studies about it, and that is why I encourage students, any people who's conducted studying laws, if they are interested in with regard to the crimes done by juvenile, I think it's important for you to do empirical research, with regard to this issue. What is the factors that lead them to be a criminal, to be conducted certain kind of act that become crimes in our criminal law? So that's one thing. The second thing, with regard to the prevention, we know that if we listen to or reading the book written by Hillary, It Take a Village. It means the title is It Take a Village. It means that it takes a village. It takes a lot of stakeholders, a lot of people who handle child, who take care of the child. So I think it is very important. It means that we have to intervene with the way how parents interact with the children. We have to intervene with the schools in order to provide a curriculum that can give students understanding not only about knowledge but also the character building. The third one, we have to discuss about the society where they are care about children, so that they are more aware about what happens to the children, and then they also doesn't follow the stereotype about the child, because they sometimes do stereotype that child is guilt, is always naughty, the child is bad, so something like that. And the fourth thing, it's very important for the local governments. They start to provide youth program, a lot of youth program. The sport center need to be established. The peer group need to establish. The child counseling need to be established. This is a very, very limited in Indonesia. It's kind of sad, which I saw that very limited local government and then even national government establish this program, which I think it will be reduce the the delinquents done by the child. So that's about the prevention. With regard to the handling the child, I think it's important to revisit again about the restorative justice scope. Do we think that under 7 years or 7 years punishment only, the crimes under 7 years only that can be go through the restorative justice, or even any crimes done by the child need to be the process of restorative justice? For the the bill of anti-sexual violence, actually, I think it said that the child who involve sexual violence need to have rehabilitations. Yeah, and then it's possible to do kind of what we call that restorative justice. So I think it's something that we need to think. And then, of course, about the rehabilitation itself, I think it's important for the authority like Ibu Septy think about it is a possibility to have a special rehabilitation for specific child with make a categories between the child between under 15 and after 15, and then the child who have involved with sexual violence or narcotic and so on. Because I found in many center they usually have a general rehabilitation for everybody. So and even they actually make rehabilitation for different kind of category of punishment. They make usually mono approach, for each of the crimes. So I think this is also something we need to think. Yeah. So that's my point of view. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ibu I and Ibu Septy. There is one more question. I think it's also for both of you guys. The question is, I would like to ask regarding to the data, we all know that the number of juvenile delinquency is increasing per year. I would like to ask, what can young generation do to preventing themselves due to juvenile delinquency? This question is from Bunga. Maybe now Bu I can answer the question first.
Okay. So what the young generations need to do, I think you need to, because you are so talented. Yeah, I just found out that young generation is very talented, very inspiring, and very, clever, smart. So I think it's good for you to start to make like programs that can help, among yourself, and then start to communicate and then encourage the adult and the institutions, certain issues to establish program that more and more sensitive to the youth need, and then more sensitive to the situation of the youth, because a youth has a very problem because of their growing. Because if the adult doesn't understand about it, so how do we can give you help, assistance? Or perhaps the adult itself need assistance to understand the youth. Yeah, I think it's good for you guys to think about what is the problems that can faced by the youth, and then how does the adult can respond to that problem. So from the assessment you can do, from the program you can establish, and then try to communicate it to the schools, parents, and then also the authority. I think that's important for me. Yeah, I think it is more important. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Bu I. Now Ibu Septy can also answer the question from Bunga.
Yeah, thank you, Mbak Nadia. So as I mentioned before in my presentation, that there are a lot of factors that can cause the involvement youth in crime, such as a family, peer relationship, and also how school can also affect the behavior of the youth. But from all of those factors, we can see that there is a core point which is that how youth can always involve in positive things. Try to involve in positive things, and you have to choose positive environments. And if you have issue with some emotional disorder or stress or depression, just get help. Don't go to the wrong person and cannot give you the proper help. Get help. So don't so be brave to get help. So be brave to tell what how is your feeling, and be open to your family, because I see that a lot of crimes, the youth crimes caused by the lack of relationship with him or her and their parents. So just be positive and choose a positive environment. So I think that will help you to prevent involved in the crime.
Thank you so much, Ibu Septy, for the answer. Moving on to our next question. It's from Alvin. I think it's also for both Ibu I and Ibu Septy. Has the juvenile delinquency current system in Indonesia been considered quite effective in upholding the values of justice? Maybe Bu I can answer this question first.
I think what I mentioned before, we do have a very good system already. Yeah, not perfect, but it's very good if we want to implement it well. But we found there are lack of the implementation in some aspect, but there are also very good. There are also evidence, good evidence that the right is already implemented. So we are in between, So hopefully that more and more law enforcers understand about the existence of the law, and then understand the basic principle in protecting the juvenile, So that's the key issue, because the law enforcer will implement the law. We still face not all law enforcers have certificate or have trained with regard to the juvenile criminal system, which is actually the requirement if they want to handle such cases. So yes, I think, but we can also find there are a very good evidence practices, that evidence very well. With regard to the protections of the child, and then to uphold the right of the child that involved in the criminal justice system. So we are in both conditions.
So even though it's not perfect, we are on the right track, Ibu.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe Ibu Septy can also answer the question from Alvin.
Thank you. Yeah, just like but what Ibu Sri has said, that we have a very good law, a very good concept about the juvenile justice system. But we also have to remember that we need other regulations, other resources to support the implementation of this Juvenile Justice System Act, so it can work perfect. So we can get the 100% effectiveness of this Juvenile Justice System Act. As we know that the Juvenile Justice System Act still needs more government regulations, standards, guidelines to give to give more explanations how we should implement this Juvenile Justice System Act, and also resources. We need more trainings. We need to change the mindset of the law enforcement officers that are related to juvenile justice system. For example, in the juvenile correctional facilities, we still have a lot of homework, and one of them is how to train our officers to change their mindset, because a lot of them comes from the adult correctional facilities. So this mindset is very very essential in implement their job in handling the juveniles in the correctional facilities. And also we need to collaborate with all the related ministries, agencies in implement this juvenile justice system. We cannot go alone. We have to do this together.
Thank you so much, Ibu Septy. Because we have a very limited time, maybe I will divide it our next two questions into both Bu I and also Bu Septy. So the first question from Cecilia is for Ibu Septy. In regards of the increasing number of the juvenile delinquency in Indonesia, my question is, which factors hold the most significant impact on crimes conducted by the youth? And what is the best preventions up until now that is most effective to avoid crimes conducted in regards of this matter? Maybe Bu Septy can answer this question first.
Actually, Mbak Nadia, to answer these questions, we need a data because we cannot talk without a data. So just like Gusri mentioned before, we are lack of data that can explain why the youth crime happens in Indonesia. But from our perspective, I don't want to answer what is the factor that most influence the youth crime, but I just want to give a suggestion maybe that to prevent this youth crime, we cannot just develop program in the correctional system, for example, but it will have to start from the family, from the school. We have to give trainings also to the teachers. Why is this issue is important and how to prevent the youth crime since it starts from the schools, and how teachers can also has the significant role in preventing youth crime, because the youth crime term is very related to law enforcement agencies. So maybe our government is missing this important thing, that the teachers as the second parents outside the house of the children is the main actor.
Okay, thank you so much, Bu Septy. Yes, indeed, the data is very important, ya, Bu. Is there any additional answer from Bu I, or is the answer from Ibu Septy enough?
I think I agree with Bu Septy. There is no single factors. But of course, several study, it is not very comprehensive study, but I think it's also quite interesting. For example, with regard to the bullying, I think there are studies already with regard to the bullying happens in the school. So it is quite interesting because of the school's environment, and then also the peer, very important in a way to create the abusive relations among students. Yeah, because what I found with regard to the bullying happens, actually Indonesia is quite very high rate. Even in the Asia, we are the highest rate of bullying happens in the school, and then some of them actually goes to the murder because the student has been beaten very bad in Makassar, in several cases that puts the child into the severe health condition. So I think in this particular case only, I just found out that no single factors. Yeah, the school, it is happened in the school. How does the school doesn't monitor what happens in the kids and then make them normalize the abuse? It seems that it's okay because laki-laki, the male students need to be strong, and then it's okay for them to fight without any intervention, for example. So this is a culture in society that needs to be changed as well. And then the parents who's been reported by the kids in the beginning said that, you have to fight. Don't worry, so something like that. And then the bullying continue. And then, this is kind of like the intervention in many aspects. The intervention in our culture, abusive and violence culture, the interventions to the way of parents thinking about the right of the child, and the way how the child, because they don't think about child, they don't think that child have voice. I think what the child feels is not important for them sometimes, And then the teachers, I agree with Bu Septy. I think it's very important to intervene through school and education, because it is nowadays, not in the COVID, but before and maybe post-COVID, school is, student actually spend more time in school rather than in house. So I think education institutions become very important to be, intervene. I think that's my opinion. But thank you.
Yes, I noticed that it's a sad reality, ya, Ibu, that our society still normalize the act of bullying, and it's very normal to do so in our educational place. So maybe moving on to the next question, also to the next term. This is a question from Olivia. Bui said that the implication of the juvenile system is not that sufficient. So I would like to ask, are there anything that should be so we can make the juvenile system better? Thanks, Ines.
I think I agree with Bu Septy. Yeah, in the education, the training for the law enforcer is still important. I think it's true there is a need a budget for that. Not now there is, I think, not so many training established for the juvenile court anymore. Yeah, compared to the 5 years ago. So I think it's supposed to be continued. The second one is the monitoring system. It's important. The third one is the data. I think it's important because I in the officer. So because it is already restorative justice mechanism, they don't put any data about it. That is very difficult to find data of restorative justice with regard to the child. I think one is important because they don't want to stigmatize the child. They don't do it anymore. But for the better intervention, the data still needed, even though it is not published. So what cases in restorative justice? How is the process? So we established through restorative justice, but we don't know yet. So data, and then training, more budget, and then also the still I think the educations of the I think the law enforcers, and then the establishment, the services. Yeah, I think rehabilitations program or other such youth programs need to be training as well, to see the early warning sign that this kind of act can be further increased into the more problematic attitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Bui, for the answer. And next, Bu Septy can also answer the question from Olivia. Hello, Bu Septy. Am I audible? Okay, because it seems like Bu Septy has lost her connection. Maybe I can move to the next question first, which is from Nimade Ayu Cintiawati. I would like to ask, is there any case where the parents of the children brief the legal staff or officers so that their child wouldn't be in jail, LPKA, or rehabilitation process? Did that case ever happen? Thank you in advance, Ibu. This might implies on the parents where they like menyuap the legal officer, ya, Cintia, ya. Maybe Bui can answer this first.
I'm so sorry, I couldn't answer these questions. Yeah, but I do believe that the parents will do the best thing they can do to protect their child away from imprisonment. So I think it's a very understandable, but I don't know whether they do bribe or not, but they will try to do the best in order to away the child from the imprisonment. So if there is a process of restorative justice, I think they will do the same. They will try that particular mechanism.
Okay, thank you so much, Bu for the question. Since we are still waiting for Bu Septy to come back to the session with us, maybe you guys would like to ask several more questions for Bu and also Bu Septy. You can ask it by type it down in the chat box or simply raise your hand and I will let you open your microphone. And also the committee can help me to reach out Ibu Septy. Is there any problem on her connection? Okay, the next question is from Helena. I would like to ask, are there any correlation between juvenile delinquency and social disintegration in society? And how big is the effect on that? Maybe we can answer this, Ibu.
We don't really study about it in Indonesia, but from the theoretical perspective, yes, yeah, the problematic social will influence to the highest rate of the crimes. Yeah, there are theories with regard to that. So that is why the intervention is to do the social integration. So there is a criminological perspective that discuss about it. Yes, but we have to acknowledge that the study on criminology with regard to the child is not really much. Yeah, so that's quite difficult for me to answer in the context of Indonesia.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu, for the answer. Is there any participants who would like to ask?
If there is no more question, I think that is okay too, yeah, Mbak.
Yes, thank you very much. Seeing no other question from the participants, I think we should wrap this session up. And I would like to thank you very much to both of the speaker, for Ibu and also Ibu Septy, for such an insightful session. We finally come to the end of this session, but before I close the discussion, I would like to take the conclusion from what the speaker has presented before. I wish to highlight several aspects, as Bu and Bu Septy has said before, that we should not only focus on how to solve it after it happened, but instead we manage to prevent it and solve the root causes, which is the condition of the society. And the second one is data and research are very important. By finding out data and root causes, we can pay attention in a better way to this issue from a better point of view. The third one is the scope of restorative justice must be reviewed in order to give a better treatment for the child offender. And the last one is it takes a lot to tackle this youth issue, and it includes a lot of stakeholders. So we have to move forward together to create a better society for us, especially for the youth. Once again, I would like to thank our speaker, Bu and Bu Septy, for your insightful presentation and all of the audience for your enthusiasm. My sincere apology if there are any mistakes that I made throughout the session. Hopefully the information that we have shared today will be useful for all of us. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Bu.
Well, would like to appreciate and thank to Kanadia, who has led our discussion for today. And of course, would like to say thank you very much and appreciate to our most outstanding speakers for today, Mrs. Septy, Juwita, Agustin, Br.Tobing, S.I.P, and Mrs. Wiyanti, Eddyono, LL.M, Ph.D. Thank you very much for the speakers and participants for the comprehensive and informative discussion. And then, as a token of our appreciation, we'd like to symbolically hand over placards and certificates to our moderator and speaker, which will be given by the director of ALSA UGM, Kak Prasetyo Pramudiono. Therefore, I'd like to remind you all of the speakers to keep the camera on for the documentation. For the first certificate and placard, we'd like to give to Mrs. Septy, Juwita, Agustin, Br.Tobing, S.I.P. All right, to Kadion, the time is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Master of Ceremony, for the opportunity. For Ibu Septy Juwita Agustin Br.Tobing S.I.P. MA from DIrektorat Kementerian Hukum and HAM Indonesia. I would like to say thank you for being willing to attend in today's event as the speakers. It was very insightful and give us enlightenment about this issue. And this is the token of appreciation from ALSA UGM for Ibu Septy. Thank you, Ibu Septy.
All right, now the committee will... All right, thank you, Ibu Septy. Now the committee will take a picture. To PDD committee, the time is yours.
Okay, I will count down from 3, 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Septy and Gadjah. All right, next, we would like to give a placard and certificate to Mrs. Wiyanti Eddyono, LL.M, HR, Ph.D. And to Gadjah Guntur, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, MC. For the next token of appreciation, we would like to extend our utmost gratitude to Ibu Wiyanti Eddyono. Thank you, Wik, for the amazing material and knowledge you have provided us in this discussion session. And I'm certain it will benefit all of us here as the participants. Thank you, Bu. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you.
All right, now the committee will take a picture. To PDD committee, the time is yours.
Okay, I will count down from 3, 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ri and Gadjah Guntur. All right, last but not least, we'd like to give a certificate to our moderator for today, Kanadia Imani Witadia. To Kanadian Irfan Daniel Putra, as a project officer of ALSA Law Unplugged Volume 3, I would like to invite you to reactivate your cameras. All right, to Irfan, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, MC. Hello, Kanadia. On behalf of the entire ALSA Law Unplugged Volume 3 committee, I would like to say thank you for your willingness to be the moderator of this legal in this discussion. Here is your certificate. It's a sign of honor from us and show you how much we appreciate you as our moderator.
Thank you so much, Irfan, and also all of the committee for letting me being the moderator of today's legal discussion. It is very insightful for me, and I hope it will be useful for all of us. Thank you.
All right, now the committee will take a picture. To PDD committee, the time is yours.
Okay, I will count down from 3, 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Kanadia and Irfan. All right, our next session is documentation. To all of the committee, moderator, and speaker, we'd like to invite you to turn on your cameras. We'll wait for 1 minute. All right, now the committee will take a picture. To PDD committee, the time is yours.
Thank you, MC. I start from slide 1. I will count down from 3, 3, 2, 1. Okay, slide 2, 3, 2, 1. Slide 3, 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sorry, but I have to say this, that we have now arrived at the end of this session. Thank you so much to all of the participants who have joined in our discussion for today. We also would like to say thank you to the Sandi Chumatrika Partnership for sponsoring ALSA Law Unplugged Volume 3 for today. And I would like to remind to all of the participants to fill in the attendance form, which will be distributed by the committee in a moment on the chat box. Once again, thank you for your participation and enthusiasm. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you at Law Unplugged Volume 4. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom. Santi, 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 Namo Buddhaya. To inspire and to aspire. ALSA, always be one.
Recording stopped.
Halo, udah di mulai. Oh, tuh nggak sih? Oke, mungkin boleh dibantu kondisiin dulu ya, teman-teman. Apa Pak Hel? Tolong di waiting room dulu ya. Terus untuk itu di OBS-nya udah dimatiin dulu ya, Reka.